Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to see transfer section of medulla oblongata at the level of polyps. Yesterday we saw the transfer section of the medulla oblongata at the level of pyramidal decussation and transfer section of medulla oblongata at the level of sensory decussation. So here the transfer section, it passes through the floor of the fourth ventricle and through the middle of the olives. So what are the features we can see at the level of the fourth ventricle and in the middle of the olives that we are going to see today? Number one, first of all, the central gray matter, it is spread over the floor of the fourth ventricle and it contains the nuclei of several cranial nerves. So from medial to lateral, first we have the hypoglossal nucleus. Then we have nucleus intercalatus or intercalated nucleus, we say, that is actually a group of nerve cells present between the dorsal nucleus of vagus and the nucleus of hypoglossal nerve. So they form a perihypoglossal nuclear complex, that is intercalated nucleus. Okay. So hypoglossal nucleus, intercalated nucleus, then the dorsal nucleus of vagus and the vestibular nucleus. Okay. So from medial to lateral, the central gray matter contains following nuclei: hypoglossal nucleus, dorsal nucleus of vagus, nucleus of tractus solitarius, and vestibular nucleus. Then the nucleus ambiguous, it lies deep within the reticular formation and it gives origin to the 9th, 10th and 11th cranial nerves. So this is nucleus ambiguous. It lies deep within the reticular formation. It gives origin to the motor fibers of 9th cranial nerve, that is glossopharyngeal, 10th vagus and 11th accessory nerve. Then on the other side of the midline, or we say paramedian region, from dorsal to ventral, we have medial longitudinal fasciculus. This is medial longitudinal fasciculus. Then the tectospinal tract, number 2. The number 3, we have medial lemniscus. Okay, medial lemniscus. So this is the arrangement in the paramedian region. From dorsal to ventral aspect, we have medial longitudinal fasciculus, then we have tectospinal tract, then medial lemniscus. Okay. So the arcuate nuclei, the arcuate nuclei, they are placed in the pontine nuclei and situated on the anteromedial aspect of the pyramids. So you can see the situation of the arcuate nuclei. So these arcuate nuclei, they receive fiber from cerebral cortex and they send efferents to the cerebellum. Then laterally, from dorsal to ventral, we can see two prominent structures: inferior cerebellar peduncle and inferior olivary nucleus. Okay, this is laterally from dorsal to ventral. We see inferior olivary nucleus and inferior cerebellar peduncle. The inferior cerebellar peduncle, it occupies the posterolateral part whereas the inferior olivary nucleus, it is the largest mass of gray matter and it forms most prominent feature in the section of the medulla oblongata, that is in the upper part of the medulla oblongata. It represents a crumpled bag-like appearance. So this is about the features in the transverse section of the medulla oblongata at the level of olives. So the central gray matter containing various nuclei, the hypoglossal nucleus, dorsal nucleus of vagus, nucleus tractus solitarius, and vestibular nucleus. And intercalated nucleus is also present. I told you that intercalated nucleus is a group of nerve cells in the medulla oblongata between the dorsal nucleus of vagus and the hypoglossal nucleus. So then the nucleus ambiguous, NS stands for nucleus ambiguous. It lies within the reticular formation and it gives origin to the motor fibers of 9th, 10th and 11th cranial nerves. And the paramedian region, from dorsal to ventral, first we have the medial longitudinal fasciculus, tectospinal tract, and medial lemniscus. Then we have the arcuate nuclei. They are situated anteromedial aspect of the pyramids. They receive fiber from the cerebral cortex and they send efferent fibers to the cerebellum. So laterally there are two prominent structures. One is inferior olivary nucleus and on the posterior lateral part we have inferior cerebellar peduncle. So these are the features in the transverse section of the medulla oblongata at the level of olives. So these three sections are very, very important. That is the transverse section of medulla oblongata at the level of pyramids and at the level of sensory decussation and at the level of olives. And all should practice the diagrams at these levels. Okay. So because it is very, very important from examination point of view. Let us discuss the applied anatomy. Medial medullary syndrome. Medial medullary syndrome is due to loss of blood supply of ventral side of the medulla oblongata. That is by anterior spinal artery. So due to loss of blood supply to the ventral side of the medulla oblongata by anterior spinal artery leads to medial medullary syndrome. Structures that will be affected: pyramids, medial lemniscus, hypoglossal nucleus. So it will lead to ipsilateral paralysis of the tongue on the same side due to damaged hypoglossal nuclei and hypoglossal nerve. Contralaterally, opposite side we see the hemiplegia due to crossed pyramid damage, loss of touch and kinesthetic sense on the opposite side. So kinesthetic sense refers to the ability to know accurately the position and movements of our joints. Okay. So that is postural and movement information. They are communicated via the sensory systems by tension and compression of the muscles in the body. So that one should accurately know the positions and movements of one's own joints. That is kinesthetic sensation. Okay. So these are the conditions related to the medial medullary syndrome. Then we have lateral medullary syndrome. Due to loss of blood supply to the lateral area of the medulla oblongata, artery that is involved is posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Posterior inferior cerebellar artery. Structures that are affected: nucleus ambiguous, spinal tractor trigeminal nerve, spinal lemniscus, then hypothalamo-spinal fibers of the sympathetic system and vestibular nucleus. The loss of nucleus ambiguous function paralyzes laryngeal, palatal, and pharyngeal muscles on that side, causing dysphonia, difficulty in speaking, and dysphagia, difficulty in swallowing. Then loss of uncrossed spinal tract of the trigeminal and the crossed spinal lemniscus results in loss of pain and temperature sensation on the same side of the face and opposite side of the body. Then there will be a Horner syndrome. So what is Horner syndrome? It is a combination of signs and symptoms caused by disruption of the nerve pathway. Okay, that is from the brain to the face and eye on one side of the body. So what happens in Horner syndrome, as you can see in this picture, there is a decreased pupil size and drooping of the eyelid. So decreased pupil size and drooping of the eyelid and decreased sweating on the affected side of your face. So decreased sweating on the affected side of your face, drooping of the eyelid, and decreased pupil size are the conditions or the signs of the Horner syndrome on the ipsilateral side due to the interruption of the descending hypothalamo-spinal fibers of the sympathetic pathway. Involvement of the vestibular nuclei causes vertigo, that is spinning, and nystagmus with the nausea and vomiting. Movements of the eyes, nystagmus, abnormal movements. Okay. So with this, we have completed the second part of the medulla oblongata. In the first part, we discussed about the open and closed part of the medulla oblongata and two sections of the medulla oblongata. And in this session, we have discussed about the transverse section of medulla oblongata at the level of olives and the applied anatomy related to it. Thank you very much.